everybody. It's Clint Clark once again coming to you with Pajama Wrestling 101, my second episode ever. And my guest is none other than Jerry Burns. We did a super fight together in Memphis, not too terribly long ago, which Jerry did win, so he gets bragging rights. So, but Jerry, how are you, my man?
I'm good, brother. Thanks for having me.
I'm good. Whenever I first started doing this, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do these once a month. I'm going to release it on the 15th of the month, every month. And I had a list of guests I wanted to start with. I'm like, I've been doing jiu-jitsu forever. I mean, when you get to the level me and you are both black belts, we've been doing it for a while. How many years have you been training?
18.
18. So yeah, and I'm probably right at 15. So we both, I consider us veterans of the game.
Yeah. We're old heads.
Yeah. We've definitely that calendar's flipped a few times. But so I was like, okay, I'm gonna release these. I'm gonna have a schedule. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. Try to release one. But man, it is like with our schedules, it is so hard, to sync up. Like it took me and Johnny, my head coach, probably a month.
Yeah. That's life, it gets hard when you got other things going on and everything.
So tell me about how did you get started training jiu-jitsu? What kind of led you into getting started?
I started jiu-jitsu in 2005. Didn't even think about it before then. How I got into it is I played basketball in college. I played at Asbury University, which is a small NAIA school in Wilmore, Kentucky. And I was 185 pounds, not as, big and sexy as I am now, So
large and in charge, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. So I got into it in 05 after I graduated. I had my criminal justice degree, but didn't do anything with that. And it's so funny. I went and watched amateur MMA fights at the National Guard. It was redneck as fuck. They were in a wrestling ring and people would slam each other and they would bounce, sky high. That being a pro wrestler.
Right.
And I saw a guy I went to high school with. His name was Scott Hope. He's a second degree black belt now. I believe he just moved to Florida. We still stay in contact with each other, but he was fighting and he just killed this guy. So afterwards I talked to him and he's like, yeah, I teach jiu-jitsu down here. I'm a blue belt. And I'm like, well, I don't want to play basketball anymore. I'm done with college. And I always wanted to keep something, stay on that schedule of working out and training, because that's all I'd ever known, was, high school sports, college sports. So I wanted to, continue to work out, continue to do something, shoot a goal, have something as a goal. So I started training. I just jumped right in, man. I think I started in, I want to say December. No, I started in January of 05, as soon as it turned 05. And I was working for my uncle at the time. I wasn't doing anything with my degree or anything like that. I was working for him. So I could afford to leave during lunch. I could afford to leave early and I would just go train. I was paying him private lessons and just doing jiu-jitsu. And it was probably, I'd have to go way back and check the old MMA.TV website out. But I think June of 05 is when I had my first amateur MMA fight. So I'd only been training 4 or 5 months. And it was in Somerset, Kentucky at the National Guard Armory in the same, fucking wrestling ring. The promoter was Jimbo Collins. And he also ran a little wrestling organization. He was getting his hand into amateur MMA. So he just used his wrestling ring, fuck, we didn't care. We just wanted to fight. So I fought this guy and I hit him a couple of times and I shot a sloppy takedown, but I got him down and I mounted him, punched him. He rolled over and I choked him out. I'm like, shit, I love this. So,
it was funny because whenever Jamie from Summit texted me, he's like, hey, I'm offering you this match against Jerry Burns. He told me, it had your rank and your age and all that. And I was like, okay, is this a gi match? I'm like, I'll do no gi, but I won't be happy about it.
Right.
So he's like, yeah, it's a gi match. You're both over 40. It's a good match. So I did what any man would do. I started stalking you on the internet.
Yeah.
I'm sure you Googled me.
Oh yeah, I always do. Everybody I'm getting ready to have a match with.
See, that can go bad because there was one time I was doing the Dallas. There was me and one other black belt that had signed up. Well, we were purple belts at the time. So I Google him. His name's Mark. I'll butcher his last name if I say it, but it's Italian-y.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll Google Mark on Facebook, and then his cover photo is him winning Master Worlds. I was like, and I'm like, I see how good his wrestling is. I'm like, well, I guess we're pulling guard today. But no, so I looked you up, and I remember I saw some of your old MMA fights, and you know, I can say this because I've wrestled in some ghetto wrestling shows. I was reminiscent about we set up a wrestling ring in a pasture.
Oh yeah, that's the way it is back home in Kentucky too.
Pasture, like just in this, I think had 5 paying customers. Had a kid ride up on the bike, and the promoter said, "You got to get out of this pasture if you're not going to pay your money." But no, I did remember. I think you were fighting. I don't know if it was in a cage, but you were fighting against the guy that was wearing Kentucky basketball shorts.
Yeah, that was him. I can't find that video anywhere. I need to look that up. But yeah.
Yeah, I think I found it on YouTube.
Yeah.
I found it on YouTube. I was like, and I was teasing you about it backstage. You know, these super fights are so weird because you get up there and you don't know really, because me and you didn't know each other beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
Get the back, and you know, me and you kind of make eye contact. I think you're in there asleep because you had to drive down the night before.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, we drove down. Yeah, drove down the night before right after work. It was like an 8-hour drive, and then I had to work right after that too. Drove all the way back, got home at like 6 in the morning. I had to work at 7:30. So yeah, it was a trip.
That was rough. See, because I worked that day, and I think
I remember you said that.
Yeah, I worked that day, left a little bit early, and so I'm like, all right, how is this guy? Is he going to be a cool guy? Is he going to be a jerk? Who knows? Because you don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's it, and that's what you get sometimes with these super fights, and that's what I always tell these promoters now. I don't want to grapple anybody that's a dick. I just don't want to do that. I'm old. I don't give a shit. I do it for fun. If they're wanting to win ADCC or they're wanting to whatever, and they're 25, 28-year-old black belt, I'm probably not going to grapple, you know? And that's Jamie actually offered me some guy from Florida. I looked him up. He was like 28, black belt, some Brazilian guy, had won worlds and some stuff like that. And he's like, "Are you interested in this match?" I said, "No." I'm 42 years old, you know, give me somebody. And then he come back with you, and I'm like, shit, this dude's like 350 pounds, 6'6", but he's 42. So, okay, let's do it, you know.
I'm not that big. I am big. I'm 315.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah, I'm still a big boy. But see, that's the like the life of an ultra heavyweight, though, too. You talk about not what you're going to get, because you're on the small side of the ultra heavyweight.
Yeah.
You're what, 230?
I was 222 for our match, and right now I'm like 227, and I'm tentatively signed up for IBJJF in Nashville. There's nobody in the Masters 3 ultra heavy right now, and I'm like, shit, you know, I could probably lose 10 pounds and do the 222, but I'd have to lose a little more because weigh in with the gi. So, you know, that's my problem. I am on the smaller end, and toward the end of my MMA career, when I was fighting pro, I used to always cut from 230 to 205. As I got older, it just got hard, and I just got lazy. So at the end, my last 3 or 4 MMA fights, I was fighting dudes, you know, 250, 260. I think one of my last ones against Michael Walbright, he was, I won't say he's over 300 pounds, and I think I was 235 for that fight. So that's always been the problem with me. I've never wanted to diet completely down for a jiu-jitsu match like a lot of people do. So yeah, I do sometimes get caught up grappling heavier guys with that ultra heavyweight deal. And that's kind of a curse of me being fucking lazy and not wanting to cut 10 pounds, you know, for a jiu-jitsu match.
Yeah, see, because I did a submission hunter pro one time. They're in Memphis, same venue me and you did ours.
Yeah.
And you never know. I didn't even see the picture of the guy. I couldn't Google him. There's nothing on him. We were brown belts at the time. This dude literally looked like Kimbo Slice, had done nothing but lift weights for 5 straight years, steroids for breakfast.
Yeah.
Because I've had somebody go So one of my friends goes, "What made you think this was a good idea?" See a picture of him. But and that was one of the matches where I actually, I shot a snatch single just because I didn't have confidence in myself. I let it go, and you can see on the video, my hands are all the way around his legs.
Oh.
I have it. And then in my head, like, no, I don't have it. Now, if I get on top, I've got decent top pressure.
Yeah.
Don't I do decent top pressure? I feel like if I get on top, I could have had a chance.
Yeah, definitely.
But once you get on bottom sometimes, and especially in the ultra heavyweight division.
Oh yeah, that's the thing, man. That's why in our match when we couldn't take each other down, I'm just like, fuck it. I'm just gonna pull guard. It's gonna bite me in the ass, but I'm gonna do it to get this party started. And that's probably the second time I've ever done that in a match. I usually try because I don't want to be on bottom of an ultra heavyweight. So, but I'm like, you know what? Let's do it. And then somehow I can't remember. I haven't watched the video. I think I watched it right after we had our match. But I went to turtle and I went to do that tailless row on you. That fucking turtle row I like doing. I'm like, nope, ain't working.
we call it the fat boy roll, I think is what it's called.
Yeah. I've been doing that since I was a blue belt. I watched some of Eduardo Taylor stuff and he, his turtle stuff. And I think he calls it the steamroller maybe or something like that. Jiu-jitsu moves have all kinds of names. But,
right, yeah.
But I've always called it the tailless row. And I like, shit, I'm about to hit this. And then nope, wasn't working. So that's how it goes when you get up with, ultra heavy, but that's just the life of it.
Well, I like that clock choke from that position. I really do. You probably can tell. I think I went for it 1,000 times.
Yeah.
I'm trying to choke you. You're trying to tell us, Romy. And you go stalling.
Yeah. I'm like, we're fucking dude. Look at us. We're fucking ultra heavyweights.
And you look at him like, what the fuck do you want us to do? I got this big motherfucker on top of me, and I'm like, I've got a good position. I don't want to exactly let him go.
I think when he said stalling is when I tried that roll, and it got me in a fucking worse position than I was in. So yeah, this is what I get for trying to, move. But yeah, I mean, you were working that clock choke, and I'm like, yeah. I mean, you know how it is. It's a game of inches. So if I'd have moved one way or the other, you would have got it. So I was just kind of like this, and then he said stalling. I'm like, well, shit. But yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, and I went to the AGF like the next week, and I saw so many matches that were they weren't ultra heavyweights, but they were like ours, where two guys struggling to get the takedown and all this, and no one's calling them stalling because they're smaller guys. I think
exactly.
Get unfairly stereotyped a lot. That you're stalling, you're being lazy, you're not trying to advance because you're ultra heavyweights. Where if it's a couple middleweights, they're more likely, they're athletic, and he's having trouble overcoming the other guy's athleticism and crap like that.
Well, that's one thing I've noticed too. You get into Masters 1, 2, 3. I'm Masters 3. You Masters 2 or you Masters 3 also?
4. I'm
Masters
actually
4.
I'm 46 now.
Oh, okay. So and you when you get up in the Masters and you're a little bit heavier, you don't want to be on the bottom. That's why you do a lot of the grip fighting standing up, and that's why you see a lot of IBJJF. You see the 2 old big dudes, and they're just grip fighting, because they want that takedown. They're not going to pull guard. So yeah, I think bigger guys do get kind of a bad rap in some of these super fights because the refs are so quick to call stalling when they don't understand. You're 250 to 300 pounds and someone's laying on top of you. That's hard to move, regardless of how big you are and how good your technique is. So that's why I think you don't want to be in the bottom when you're a bigger guy against a bigger guy. But I think some of these smaller guys, and I haven't been small. I started out as 280 or 185 when I started jiu-jitsu and was really athletic and kind of just fluctuated up. Like I said, now it's usually 225, 230, and I'm going against guys usually 230, 240, 250. So, I don't like pulling guard. I never pull guard. Like I said, I did for us just because I'm like, well, let's do it. Let's just get this show on the road. But,
But that thing where it didn't catch, I about fell over. This is about where we go. My butthole just puckered, Jerry.
So yeah, that was a good time though, man. Good match. He
I thought it
actually,
was a great match. I really did.
yeah, and that's the first time I'd ever talked to Jamie and had anything to do with Summit. I can't even remember. I just filled out an application and didn't know. And I actually was going to fight. Would they have a show last week? Was it last week?
Mm-hmm.
I seen they needed a black belt. I think the guy was 218, and I messaged him like, well, I'm 225 if he wants to do it. And they said, yeah, he'd do it. And then they got back with me like 2 weeks later and said, well, he decided he didn't want to do it. So I was going to go down and take that match just for, shits and giggles.
Right. No, and the injury I've been dealing with, I haven't been able to roll, but they did a show in Little Rock. I got to be a judge.
Yeah.
And apparently, they said I looked bored the entire time. Of me. My gym was, because I'm like sitting over there looking like this, leaned up on the table, and they're like,
well, shit, they're 6-hour shows. You know what I'm saying? We got there at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and hell, I think their match was probably at 10, and there was 10 other matches after hours. And then plus they did the damn, the little super fight stuff they did afterwards, a little tournament or whatever for the money. So that was a long ass night.
It was a bad night for me, Jerry. And let me explain why it was a bad night. So me and you, we went, I consider we did a 9-minute war. Mm-hmm. It was time limit's 10 minutes. I don't know what any of that bullshit is, but that's the black belts go for 10 minutes, and you caught me about the 8-minute 55-second mark. So it was, legit.
It was a long match, yeah.
Give me the Kimura. And I was actually, for two big guys, because we went hard, because I had somebody tell me that I thought you were going to settle in and try to ride it out. I think, obviously I had top position, but you were throwing a lot of attacks, a lot of sweep attempts. You were very active underneath. I had no idea who was winning the match. Mm-hmm. Like even there. I mean, obviously you tapped me, so it was over. But I didn't know who was going to get the decision. So that's part of the fun part about the super fight format is you got to stay busy.
Absolutely.
You do. And so I was trying to advance the position, and you got me. So so went for 9 minutes, lost. I think we got out of there like a ridiculous, like 1 a.m.
Oh yeah, no restaurants open, couldn't eat any good food anywhere.
Went to the Waffle House on the street, and they're like, yeah, it's going to be 30 minutes before we're even taking orders. So we start driving back to Arkansas, and like there's nothing open. Like apparently nothing stays open late in West Memphis. Like Denny's is like, no, we're not going to stay open and serve.
Yeah.
There was nothing. We end up, I got like a Lunchable at a Love's. I'm pretty sure I overpaid for. But when I was at the one in Little Rock, I felt bad for you because they like had some kind of like an insane cash bonus for submission belt division. I'm like, man, Jerry should have got me here because you would have made $100.
Well, they asked you, do you want to super fight, and then do you want to do the tournament at the end? I said no. I knew that I was going to be tired of shit after every match anyway, so I wasn't even going to get. Plus, don't they do the no gi at the end? Was it no gi that they do?
Yeah, they do no gi.
Yeah, and I haven't done no gi. I don't do no gi anymore. Like I said, when I first started MMA and Jiu Jitsu, I did a lot of no gi. But as I got older and unathletic, I just stick to gi now.
So what do you prefer about working in the gi compared to working in no gi? Because I get tired of watching the butt scooting and everybody trying to just heel hook each other.
Yeah, I'm so sick of seeing that stuff. What I like about the gi is, you got grips, obviously, but that's just like if you're out on the street, like I said, I teach defensive tactics for police officers too. I was a police officer for 15 years, and I recently just went part-time 2 months ago just to try to build a school and to grow it. We're doing some homeschool stuff with kids for Jiu Jitsu. So, it's more realistic for me, more realistic for anybody really, unless you're going to be butt naked in a shower grappling somebody, or you're, doing an MMA fight. So I really like the grips. You know how it is. You can grab a collar if anybody's got a hoodie on, they got a t-shirt on. You can wrap up that choke. And it slows things down for me. I got a lot of younger guys at the gym that train with me, and that's how I got to slow some of them down. I grappling this morning with a white belt, and he's really athletic, new police officer. He's been training about 6 months. And he was running around me, trying to pass guard, running around me and just wearing me out. And I just locked into half guard. And I'm like, oh, I got you now. And then we went about 5 minutes. I tapped him about 10 times. But then he took his gi top off because he gets hot. These guys get hot. They want to take their gi top off. So then that takes away my grip. So then I just sweep them and just smash them and lay on them. But if they got gis on, I usually kind of play bottom with a lot of my guys at the gym just to work bottom. That's kind of why I was so comfortable with me and you on the bottom, even though I didn't want to be there with you. I was like, well, okay, I'm kind of used to the bottom game anymore. I remember my top pressure was so heavy as blue belt into a purple belt. And my instructor, Master Luis, was like, oh, bro, you can't get promoted until you work bottom, So from like purple on until brown belt, I just pretty much would just go to my back and just work bottom when I was rolling with anybody. So I kind of got into the habit of doing that, but the collars make a difference. Sleeves, collars, lapel. I just think it's more realistic. The jiu-jitsu I like doing is the realistic, self-defense, Gracie jiu-jitsu. That's what I like. Some of this stuff we got, this adopt-a-cop thing. I don't know how familiar you are with that. Are you familiar with that at all?
I'm not, but tell me all. You can tell me all about it.
Yeah, it's a really good thing. It started out being a good thing. I don't know who invented it. We're part of it at our gym, but they will actually pay for police officers to train. And the bad thing about it is a lot of these sport jiu-jitsu schools are doing it. So when the police officers go in, instead of showing them control tactics, stuff like that, they're showing them the fucking butt scoop, berimbolo, heel hook. I'm not going to mention names, but I was on Instagram the other day, and there was a police officer who teaches cops at local place here, next city over. And I shit you not, they were showing a position from knee on belly. They had the top guy go from knee on belly to fucking a berimbolo roll, the roll to get him to his back and put a choke on him. And I commented, and I'm like, well, I'm probably going to get blasted out for this because the gym is a pretty big known gym, and a lot of people sip that Kool-Aid. And I said, hey, being a defensive tactics instructor for 10 years, that's a big no-no. Never teach your police officers to go from a dominant position to a bad position. On top of that, anytime that a police officer puts a chokehold on, you got to have deadly force. You got to be reasonable to do that. And the guy commented back, and he's like, oh, yeah, you're right, but I thought I was going to get blasted out. But that's kind of the thing, sport jiu-jitsu is fun. I love it. We got guys who do competitions, but just the self-defense aspect and, the gi is just kind of what I've kind of got into the past. Well, I'd say since I would say purple belt on, when I was a white belt, and, I was a blue belt for 7 years.
Okay.
Sandbagging blue belt. I was a blue belt for 7 years because I was, fighting professional MMA. I was doing a lot of no gi. I wouldn't want to test into gi. And then I had some injuries, some back problems, some knee problems, some rotator cuff problems. And then that's kind of how I started going to the gi. And I just kind of fell in love with it, and some about it. I'll roll with some of these guys, no gi, but, I much rather prefer gi.
Oh, me, yeah. We're the same way. I think we talked about that. I prefer gi. Like I'll tinker with some no gi, but it definitely is not my thing. I mean, because the end of the day, there's me and Ryan Stevens. We have Ryan Stevens. He at S7's Frontline Jiu-Jitsu here at the gym at Gravitas. I don't know. It's a green screen.
Hey, one of them. There you go. Yeah.
Back here. But he teaches that. But me and him were talking one day because we were wondering, like, okay, me and you signed up for a tournament, who would win? And I told him, said, honestly, tournament style match, I would probably win. In a real fight, I think he would win because there's two different types. Like I love the sport jiu-jitsu. Sport jiu-jitsu is what I am. He's more in the defensive tactics. How do you see yourself splitting your time at your school between defensive tactics and sport?
Well, like in the morning times when we have morning class, it's more police officers, so we get to do more defensive tactics stuff. And in the evenings, it's usually the sport guys, which I try to make it. I always show some standing self-defense, some of the Gracie stuff, the collar grab stuff, and then we go into once we go to the ground, we'll do sports stuff. But I think last month I showed a berimbolo back take just because I had like two 16-year-old kids in there, and I know they love that shit, you know. So,
Yeah.
but I always tell them, hey, I wouldn't do this, you know, if you're self-defense or out in the street in the concrete, don't be, you know, fucking butt scooting or doing a berimbolo bullshit. You know, and all these heel hooks, all these kids at my place with a heel hook, you know, they love that shit. I had one kid, he's not training with us anymore. I say kid, he's 20 years old. But he had been watching some YouTube videos, you know, so he was all about the 50-50, the heel hook shit, Ashigari bullshit and all this stuff they're doing. And he heel hooked one of our older guys, and the guy's like, hey man, you know, what's up with that? And he's like, oh, whatever, you know, he starts smarting off. So then the guy gets on him and then like chokes him out and like almost puts him to sleep. And I'm like, you know how to do a heel hook, but you don't know how to get out of a choke. You know, that's where jiu-jitsu is going wrong, I think, right now. But splitting the time up at my place is fairly simple. Now, we had some MMA guys want to do MMA, and I told them, like, hey, I've had 31 pro fights, 10 amateur fights, been training for 18 years. Yeah, I can, you know, we can do MMA. I can show you MMA, but I don't prefer that anymore. I prefer just, you know, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu with the gi. So, you know, a lot of the guys who do want to do the no-gi and stuff like that, we would do morning classes. Morning classes with me, like today, we had 3 guys there, you know, so it was more like pretty much kind of like a private with them. So we kind of just do what they want. If they want to work no-gi stuff, we will. If they want to do some focus mitts, then I kind of work that with them. But as far as that is, you know, my passion is just gi stuff now. Last year, let's see, I had 4 or 5 matches last year. I said I wanted to grapple 4 or 5 times. All of them was gi except for the no-gi match. And the no-gi match, we was going, guy got me the triangle. I went to escape it like I would with a gi by putting my hand in the collar and pulling in. I put my hand there and I'm like, fuck, no gi. Next thing you know, I'm getting arm barred. So I'm like, no more no gi. That's it. Yeah. And I got offered a no gi match. I guess it was 5 to win. I ended up doing a gi match, but he offered me a really good no gi match against a guy. I'm like, yeah, that'd be fun. But I'm like, I don't do no gi. I'm trying not to do any more no gi. So I'm trying to stay away from it now, Clint.
Yeah, no, you got offered like against like an AEW wrestler, didn't you? Got offered a super fight against one?
Yeah, I can't think of his name. The dude is a big monster too. Yeah, no gi. And I'm like, no, I'll pass on that. But he was just like maybe a blue or a purple belt. I can't think of his name for nothing now, but
yeah, I can't either. But see, to me, I've never liked doing the absolute as the bigger guy.
Mm-mm.
And part of the reason is because I don't know if I have an ego, but I don't feel like I have anything to gain. It's not that smaller guys can't be bigger guys, obviously. That's not the case at all. Not that my jiu-jitsu is better, but to the untrained eye, if I go out there and get beat by a 180-pound guy, well, you just beat a guy half your size.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you win, it's like, I mean, if you lose, like you just got beat, or you know what I mean.
Oh yeah, well you know how it is. You got some of these internet trolls. They'll be blue belts or purple belts, and they talk shit. And I'm like, they're 150 pounds. So yeah, you know, come to my gym. If you want to spar, we'll spar. But what's it going to prove? You know, if I lay on top of you and Kimura you 20 times because I'm, you know, 80 pounds more than you, what's it going to prove? You know, if you come in and do some berimbolo leg bullshit and tap me out, then look, I just got, you know, got some bullshit done on me by 150-pound kids. So, you know, we got a lot of those guys around here that, you know, for the most part in East Tennessee, we got some good instructors, we got some good schools, but you know, there's a couple schools around here. It's mostly just MMA no-gi guys, and they just try to shit on every instructor that's not their school. And you know, it's just, yeah, it's not going to do anything for me to grapple a guy smaller than me, lower belt than me, no matter what they say, you know, on the internet or challenge you to a match or whatever.
No, but you know, you said something earlier when we were talking about, you know, jiu-jitsu going the wrong direction. Like I noticed like a lot of watching the Summit grappling, because I had teammates competing this week at the card in Memphis. Like, I mean, you'd see stuff like people not controlling the hips and guard.
Yes.
You know, you would see it like, yeah, they're sitting there, they're butt scooting, they're going for ankle locks and heel hooks and all this fancy crap, but it's like they're focused on the sizzle instead of the meat, you know, the subject, the stuff. Like I see a lack of fundamentals because so many people are worried about. I tell them all the time, you know what works? Side control. Side control.
Yes.
Side control works. You know, you need to learn. I see people getting away from basic fundamental jiu-jitsu.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. You know, that's like me, you know, I guess I'm just becoming one of them old, you know, fuckers like Clint Eastwood, get off my fucking grass. You know what I mean? But
I know I did too. I even said something like, I'm that angry guy.
Yeah.
That I'm just like,
because you know some of my students that come and they, you know, some of my young ones, bless their heart, they, you know, they don't know anywhere from 16 to 22 or 3. They'll watch something on YouTube and I'm like, how are you going to get there though? How are you going to set up to get to that leg lock? You know, how are you going to sweep the person? How are you going to control side control? How are you going to get to that position? You know, and that's kind of the way some of this stuff is. Some of these flashy moves, you know, is how the fuck are you going to set that up? You got to have fundamentals to get to that, you know?
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, you know, this was a couple years ago, I guess. Had a brown belt come. He was out of town. He come to the school. Really good guy. He was rolling and he was fucking killing guys, you know? He was doing really good. And he stayed for about a week. And like I said, I always do try to do standing self-defense before we get into the ground stuff. So we started off with a front headlock escape or a guillotine, depending on how you want to do it. And it's something I teach police officers and something that's in the, you know, it's in Master Alio's book and all that. He was clueless on how to get out of a front headlock, side headlock, anything. He was clueless, you know. But you get him on the ground, and like I said, he would pull guard, and man, he would wrap you up, all kinds of different shit, you know. But that's the problem I have is when these guys that's just basic walking in Walmart and someone gets you in a fucking headlock. You got to know how to get out of that shit, you know. So that's kind of my thing. I'm just that old grumpy dude who, you know, thinks you know, nothing wrong with sport jiu-jitsu. I love it. I love competing. And I got to go to compete maybe 8 times this year. I want to. But, you know, you got to know the basics. You got to know how to get out of a headlock or someone grabbing you in a bear hug and stuff like that. And, you know, you can learn it, you know, you can learn it when you're a white belt and it's something going on in the black belt that you're going to do, you know. So that's kind of my issue with some of this new shit, you know.
Yeah, the first major tournament I ever did was I did no-gi pans when I was a blue belt. And part of that was just to go to New York and say I did it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things I've always enjoyed doing. I've got 2 bucket list items left on my jiu-jitsu bucket list. I'm gonna get with you about one of them. I'll tell you about both of them, but one of them does have to do with you.
Okay.
Yeah, so I know I'm gonna let the anticipation build. But my very first tournament, my guy was my main training partner at the time when I was living in North Carolina. I was training under Steve Snyder at Living Defense Martial Arts in High Point. Now it's Tiger Rock, RMNU, North Carolina is what the school is now. But we did no-gi pans. I lose to the guy that wins my division first round because it tends like that's the way it usually works for me. I either win it or I draw the guy that wins at the first round. Usually not far in between. So my buddy Mark went against this guy that was a SWAT officer for the Sweden Army.
Oh shit!
Like 6'8" guy, just looked like God came down and chiseled him out of stone. Had like a Swedish like wife who looked like the stereotype. But he like just threw Mark down and Americaned him. Somehow in the absolute, he did the absolute. He tripped over his own feet, got a guy stuck in guard, and had no idea what to do off his back. Zero, not a clue. I mean, he just sit there and tried to squeeze him with his legs and do that stuff. Like, never attempted a sweep. It was like, I don't know what to do off my butt. You know, I'm lost. And that's part of the reason I know I start off pretty much every row like on my back. Just like, because I know if I get on top, I can big guy some stuff.
Yeah, I do the same.
Yeah, like I like, and I think most of your bigger guys need to start do that. Like, focus on working off your butt. The big guy stuff, it's easy. You can learn that pretty. It's not hard. My game's not a complicated game, but I've taken a long time to get very good at my uncomplicated game.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, Jerry, what is your kind of lineage? Did you started off under your friend who's a blue belt? You know, did y'all went to high school together?
We did.
Same grade? Was he a little bit younger, a little bit older?
No, he was in the same grade, but I really didn't even talk to him. That's what's so weird about it. We knew who he was. We knew him as a weird karate guy, you know, the karate kid. Like I said, I played basketball. He, you know, he was all the time going to tournaments and stuff. And I don't remember him in school a whole lot until we started talking, you know, but we were in the same grade, went to the same school. And I got in, like I said, got in with him. He was a blue belt under Mike O'Donnell and Carlson Gracie. He had 4 seasons up in Lexington, Kentucky. And stayed with him. I was with him for, I'd say 6 or 7 months. And then I started training under Jason Keaton in Elizabethtown, Kentucky. And he did a lot of the Army combative stuff at Fort Knox and stuff. And that's kind of what gravitated me to him, is because, you know, the guys, Scott Hope and those guys, were more sport jiu-jitsu. And I was doing, like I said, I was doing MMA and really deep in it, but also, you know, I wanted to do self-defense stuff too. So that's kind of how I got in with Jason. I would travel on the weekends, go train with him. He had Joe Bays training with him at the time, leg lock monster. So I trained with him for, I'd say, about 2 years, 3 years. And then he ended up moving to Georgia to train, and he's got his school in Georgia now. So after that happened, I actually ended up moving to Hazard, where I started working at the sheriff's office and started training with some guys. I started training with Sam Hall and some guys there, and they were under Luis Pal-Harris. They were under Master Luis. So I was a blue belt at the time, and that's kind of how I got under with Luis, and I've been with Master Luis ever since. I would say that was probably, I want to say maybe 2008. 2008. And that's it. You know, I had my blue belt, but Luis has put every stripe and every belt on me since then. So I've kind of been with him. Even when I moved to Tennessee, I still stayed under him, and then eventually opened up my own school and still with him. So.
Now, where was it you were living whenever you got under Luis?
Hazard.
Hazard,
Perry County. That's what everybody says. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
I'm sorry, you threw that softball. I had to swing at it.
Yeah. Well, that's how everybody knows. It was it's in Eastern Kentucky. You know, if anybody's heard of Harlan County, Kentucky, we were pretty much right beside Harlan, and a lot of people, the Justified movie and all that shit, it was, or the TV show or whatever. So that's how we got in with Luis. We were training Sam Hall, my buddy, was under Luis, and I kind of started training under them, and I was still doing my MMA and stuff like that. But that's kind of how I got in with Luis. And then when I moved to Tennessee, I told him I was moving and still stayed under him, and then opened up my own place. And let's see, I got awarded my black belt, I want to say February of 2021. So not been a black belt very long. So.
No, I think because when we talked with me and Jamie, of course, he offered me the match. He said when you got your black belt, so you got it 9 months before me.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, mine and your match was only my second match, I think, at black belt. I hadn't competed. I haven't done IBJJF since purple belt. So this might be my first one if I decide to do it. I got like 3 days to sign, you know, to finish my registration. But you
can always move down an age group. I prefer to move down age groups than I prefer to move.
Yeah. I think
it's not like I can move down in weight, Jerry. I mean, you can cut weight. I ain't making 220.
I don't know, man. I tried to cut weight last year for something just to see if I could lose like 10 pounds, and it sucks, man. I like eating too much. So, like I said, I used to cut 30 pounds for MMA back when I was, 25 to 30. And then after it kind of hit mid 30s, it was just like, fuck, I don't want to cut weight for this, No,
and it's always weird for me because, like, if I go, one of the things I truly enjoyed about this sport is traveling to different cities to compete. Like, I mean, I've competed all over the place, and I completely lost my train of thought, Jerry. I ain't even gonna sit here and lie. Well, where's the funnest place you've ever traveled to compete? That's not where I was going with this, but this is where I got.
Hey, there you go. You're on it. I'll tell you what, when you were talking about you went to New York, first time I've ever been to New York, and probably last time I'll ever fucking go to New York, was I did a Heisman. I did the Heisman grappling tournament in New York. I think I was a blue belt. And those videos are on YouTube, and I didn't know with some people, and it's fucking, you got to go watch those. But at the time, I was working a lot with, like I said, I was with Jason Keaton at the time. I just had got my blue belt, and I was training a lot with Joe Bays, and he loves the leg lock. So I think I won 4 or 5 matches with all fucking toe holds and knee bars and shit. It's the funniest shit ever because I'm so anti leg lock now that if you watch that Heiston tournament, I got like 3 or 4 videos on YouTube. That's all I'm doing is just throwing leg locks, But that's what I tell my guys. I said, I know leg locks. I can do leg locks. I just don't like them. So, but that was fun. That's the first time, like I said, I'd been to New York, probably last time I'll ever go. When I first started out training MMA, I was early on. I've maybe only been training for, I don't know, 8 or 9 months. We ended up going up to Miletich, Team Miletich up in Iowa. And this was in 2005-06 when they had Jens Pulver, Matt Hughes, Tim Sylvia, Brad Imes, just, a murderer's row of guys in this little shitty building. We went up there and trained. We stayed 2 weeks up there, and I just got killed, got my ass kicked. That was, but that was fun. Then let's see, my very first pro fight was for Duke Rufus, one of his shows, and it was against one of his guys. So you know how that went. They call in the guys, 6-3 as an amateur for his first pro fight, so you know how that goes. But we went up there.
You were brought in to win that match.
No, and it's a good match. It went second round, and I just fucking gassed out, and he ended up winning. But we went up a week early and got to train at Duke's place, and Rufus Sport got to train up there. So I would say my MMA stuff is, I fought King of the Cage 2 times, and they were always at these fucking slimy ass casinos, Indian reservation casinos. Those are always fun, back in the day. At 40 years old, they probably wouldn't be fun, but back, early 30s, late 20s, those were a blast. So I would say my MMA stuff is I've had a lot of good stuff there. The jiu-jitsu part of it's been boring because I haven't competed a whole lot since purple belt, and now I got my school, and I travel with the kids when they want to compete. But I would say some of my earlier MMA stuff, it was pretty cool traveling and doing a lot of stuff back then.
Now, what was the major factor that pushed you to open your own school? Like, because in what rank were you when you finally like, okay, I'm going to open this school?
Well, in Kentucky, I was a blue belt. We opened up our little club, and went from there with Sam Hall, my buddy who was under Luis. We opened up our own club, and it was mostly, we didn't charge anybody. We had like 30 dudes just getting together in a big warehouse, and we had mats down. We had a boxing ring up, we had a shitty boxing ring. We had just plywood and the ropes around it. Probably you might have wrestled in something like that, probably in Arkansas. That's how it first started. We first were, we called it, Kentucky Combat Club is what we had. And like I said, it was just a group of just us rednecks getting together, just training. Like I said, I was a blue belt, so, I knew everything then, being a blue belt, fucking everything. So.
Back when me and you say that, but back when me and you were blue belts,
that's all you see. Yeah,
it was a big deal. I remember it being a big deal. Dirt, because you don't know Dirt. He's from Little Rock, but he come in like one of my second, third classes, and like, oh my God, this guy's a blue belt. A purple belt.
Yeah.
Like you were in awe of a purple belt. And now, of course, it's like, it seems like everybody's got a blue belt.
Oh yeah, well now they pass it out like Halloween candy. But you're right. That's when I started training with Professor Hope, Scott Hope. He was a blue belt, and back then that was a big, shit. He's a blue belt. That was a big deal. So yeah, so I felt like I was a shit back then, and really, there wasn't anybody else in my town. Scott, he had his blue belt, he had his little place, and then I was doing my little club and was a blue belt. And then when I moved to Hazard, started working with Sam. Sam was a blue belt, and we ended up getting, I want to say we got a purple belt together under Luis. So, and then, we were 2 purple belts, and hell, there was nobody that had that, back then. So yeah, that was a big deal back then. But that's kind of when I kind of dabbled in just getting guys together, and it was more so just buddies getting together, training. And it's crazy. We do like fucking 20 rounds of 3-minute MMA sparring, and then we do like 2 hours of rolling. I wish I could do that now, but I get dead after hour
No,
and
I
15
get down
minute class.
for that. That'd be just fun. Now, Jerry, I've kept you for about the full hour here. So
Now you said you
yeah.
going, yeah. What you got for that? You want to come down and train, or
So,
what do you want to do? You
no,
want to do a wrestling match?
No, I'm old, Jerry. So no. So I've done a lot. As you get older, you realize, okay, I've got bucket list items I want to check off. So I've got 2 I want to do. One is I want to compete out of the country, which unless you want to sponsor my travel, you can't help with. I'll let you. If you want to pay for a couple plane tickets I'll go anywhere.
Well, shit. What's the thing that everybody's raising money on? We could do you one of those GoFundMes or whatever. Or you could always open up an OnlyFans too, though.
I could do that. There's got to be
something or something in Speedos or some shit.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the other one is when I turn 50 years old, I want to do my last super fight ever. I want to do my last super, and I want the guy I go against and plus I really want to come out to Kid Rock. I'm 50. He's like, I guess I'm fucking 50. And so I want to come out to 50, but so I'm going to challenge you for a little bit over 3 years from now to a super fight. We can do it. We can do Mat Monster. We can do Summit, wherever you want. We got to make sure it's a 5-minute round.
Okay, I can do a 5-minute round. We can do that.
Yeah. So we'll run it back.
Okay, we can do that. Unless I'm just old and unless my knees will give out on me, my back's out on me, we'll do that.
I'll pull guard this time. No, because it was funny because when you hit the match, you're like, you owe me a beer for that one.
Yeah.
I gave you $5 in the back. I'm like, go get you a beer.
You did, but everything was closed. Everything was closed.
Yeah, you probably had to wait and get you a 40 on the drive home somewhere. But no, that was that. Man, it was a good time. I had, as you go this journey, you learn most people are really cool guys. Mm-hmm. And I had so much fun in Memphis getting to know you before the super fight. I had just as much fun for that 9 minutes me and you went at each other because I know you gave me your best shot. I know you gave me mine. I gave you mine. And it was, I was impressed because anytime you do that, that's a challenge with yourself. That first off, the fact that a guy 45 years old at the time, 300 pounds, was able to go for 9 minutes in that. Same thing with you. I mean, that you went with a guy, and I was like, man, I actually did pretty good. I'd been training hard. My goal was to stay undefeated in Master World. You single-handedly ruined that.
No, that was a great match. I appreciate you taking it. And like I said, yeah, man, I think it. I'm going to call you a friend for life, brother. I appreciate, just being cool because you, like I said, you do get for the most part cool guys, but then there are some dickheads too. You're like, yeah, I don't even want to grapple this guy, So yeah, I appreciate you being cool because, like I said, that was my first super fight. Oh gosh, like I said, since probably Fight to Win when I was a purple belt, maybe when I was competing a lot more. So. Yeah, man, I appreciate you taking the fight, being cool, and having me on the show.
Yeah, and and I did. It actually paid off because you motivated me. And actually, a month later, I won the Arkansas Open at black belt, which I was really proud because anytime I don't care what the tournament is, if you can win a tournament at black belt, it's an accomplishment. And I hadn't won one I'd won one at blue belt, won a couple at purple belt. I didn't win anything at brown belt. And then black belt to turn around and win that one. It's my first AGF win too.
Yeah, I didn't compete any as brown belt. I didn't compete any as brown belt. I did a lot at purple belt. Some big shows at purple belt. I did Fight to Win once or twice, and then Battle Mountain, a couple big ones at purple belt. But I didn't do anything at brown belt. Like I said, I mostly worked on a lot of my bottom game stuff, my self-defense, just really wanting to tighten some of that shit up. So yeah, that was my first. Maybe it's my second black belt match with you. I can't remember if I did one on Mat Monster, my little show I do. I think I grappled a guy just to give him a match. But, yeah, that was my first big one, especially being on Flow and fucking, 50 matches and us being like the 40th one and waiting back there for fucking hours, that shit.
No, that's the anticipation what kills you, because you get up and I pace. I can't just
Well,
sit
see, that's
still.
why when you come in there, I was asleep, and I've always done that for MMA fights, for tournaments. I'll get there early and I'll just close my eyes and I'll just sleep, because otherwise, like you said, that nervousness just gets you. And I see some guys, they pace, they walk around, they shadow box. I usually always just find me a spot and just kind of chill out a little bit, just kind of calm my nerves a little.
Yeah. All right. Well, Jerry, man, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Clint.
It's amazing how quick like an hour will fly by.
Yeah.
When you get on these things, because it has flown by, and I was like, and I told you beforehand, I don't have any idea where the conversation's going, because I don't research. But I will end with this: what are your thoughts on Kentucky basketball?
Oh man. Now, what are you talking about this past season, or the season coming, or next year?
Well, there's a lot of people. I have another podcast, shameless plug, Big C, Bigger T podcast, and we talk sports on there a lot. There's a lot of people that ain't happy with Coach Cal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And like I said, I bleed blue. I'm a Kentucky fan through and through, even though I live in Tennessee now, which, my fiance doesn't like that, and a lot of other people don't. But quick story, when I first moved down here, I kept on going to Thompson Bow. I kept on going to the UK Tennessee games. That's when we were pretty good. Fucking right. Tennessee would always beat us. I'd almost get in a fight. So I'm like, never again. I'm never going to another Kentucky Tennessee game. But Heather, my fiance, talked me into going to the football game this year, and that was a fucking disaster. But anyway, Tennessee, we could have done a whole hour on this topic here, Clint. Coach Cal, I think he's a great recruiter. He's a great motivator. I don't know about his coaching skills, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Can we find a better coach? Can we get a better coach? I don't know. I don't think we can get a better one for what he's built that program for, the kids we're going to get in. We're bringing in kids that just want to go to the NBA. Now, I'm not saying they don't care about winning or losing, because I'm sure they do. But they're more so worried about, okay, well, this season will be over with this year. I'm going to go to the NBA next year. Which, we got some kids this year. You could tell they really cared. They cared about it. And even though the season didn't go the way we wanted it this year, I think it was an improvement from the past few. But as far as Coach Cal, man, I'm on all kinds of these Facebook pages, and they're like, fire Cal. But who are we going to get? I don't see us getting anybody better. Now, I'll tell you who I'd like to have. I'd like to have Bruce Pearl or somebody like that. But I don't think we could. Kentucky fans are mad because we fucking go 21-10. That's a fucking good season for some teams.
Well, you get spoiled. Back when we had Nolan at Arkansas,
Nolan beat us to hell, yeah.
When you build the monster, you've got to beat the monster. And me and Travis had the conversation one day. Has Cal underachieved at Kentucky? Who's only won one national title. And I think when you're dealing in the model that he deals with, especially now with the transfer portal, that's an entire another. We could grumpy old man about that all day.
Absolutely. Yeah, and the NIL shit. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we can grumpy old man about all that all day. But the one and done model, I don't know if you're ever going to see a team, because Arkansas had 3 5-stars, 2, 3 McDonald's All-American. Yeah, we were loaded on paper, and then never really worked out. Overall recruit. You just see it. So
well, here's the thing with Coach Cal too. He does more than just, he does a lot of good stuff in Kentucky. We had the floods in Eastern Kentucky in Hazard, which is, I want to call one of my hometowns because I lived and I policed there for so long. He did a big flood relief. He did the Midnight Madness game there and raised millions of dollars for the flood relief. There's a tornado in Western Kentucky a few years ago. He raised a lot of money for that. So he does a lot of good things. And, I see, Feinbaum and all these guys saying, oh, he's underachieved. And he probably has for Kentucky. But, like I said, any other program would love to go 21-9, 21-10, even though he hasn't done what we're used to. And we had, Tubby Smith, Patino. I kind of go up and down with how I feel about him. I think Could we get a younger coach that's a better coach? Yeah, but it's probably going to go through some growing pains. It's probably going to be some 15 and 15 seasons, and then that I think we're good where we're at. I mean, I think a lot of it's just the players today. They're all wanting to get that NIL money. They just want to go to the NBA. They're going to come in, and if they don't get the minutes they want, then they transfer. That, and like you said, we could talk about this transfer portal all day long. That shit's the dumbest shit ever. Back when I was playing ball, and here I am on my Clint Eastwood shit. Back when I was playing ball, you had to sit out a year.
Yeah, no, you played college basketball. I played college football. Mm-hmm. So we're both. Well, I was on the team playing but you get my drift. But so me and you, I mean, but you get. Well, I joke that if I hit the transfer portal, I'd still be there.
Well, you could transfer, but if you did, you had to sit out a year of eligibility. There's no repercussions for these guys now. They get mad, but that's the way the world is now. They get mad and they transfer, and then there's no repercussions. They don't have to sit out. Never mind, the school that just recruited them and put all this money into them for a year. So. But we could talk about that on your other show because we could go into shit like this all day long.
No, I'm going now, so we're going. Because Sam Pittman, Arkansas's football coach, the best football coach in the SEC. I'm not sure if you knew that. I'm sure you're a Stoops fan. He's
I
really
like Stoops. He's a good dude.
But like their offensive line, you've got a lot. You've got 3 openings, 3 starters gone from the offensive line for Arkansas. He's like, I'm not setting a depth chart in the spring. It's not going to do it. Because someone sees that they're further down, they say they'll just transfer.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
You're seeing things. But anyway, like I said, we'll do this on the other show when Arkansas plays Kentucky in football.
There you go. Let's do that.
We'll have you on. We'll talk about football. But Jerry, thank you so much, my friend. It was a pleasure. I love the shit out of you. Hope you know that. I consider you a friend.
So absolutely, man. Love you. Keep in touch.
We'll say goodbye afterwards. All right, bud?
Okay, sounds good.
All right, man. All right.